Good morning, everybody. Am I on? I'm okay, yes, good. My name is Jeremy. I'm a member of the congregation here, and it's always an honour to have the chance to talk to you. I'm using this, I've got a slight snuffle, so I'll try not to sneeze into the microphone, but if I do, I apologise for any harm I do to your ears. As Jim said, the sermon is one of a series that came about from questioning new Christians and the questions they raised. And today's one is, how can I establish healthy rhythms in my life? And what they were basically saying was, look, I've got a busy life already. I do lots of stuff. How can I fit into that things like prayer time, Bible study, actual Christian service, coming to church, and so on and so forth? And I think that's not a question that just concerns new Christians, but it's something that affects us all, even if we've been Christians for centuries, or indeed, even if we're not Christians, but are seriously searching. How can we fit God into our lives? So today's sermon is going to be not exactly a deep theological one. I mention no ancient Greek anywhere, you'll be glad to know, but hopefully you'll find it practical. But let's kick off with a prayer. Dear Lord, we come to you in our busy lives. We have so much going on. And I pray, dear Lord, that you will open our hearts so that we can see the proper place that you should have in those lives, where we should put you and how we should treat you. Amen. So let's take a step back. We all have rhythms in our life at the moment. Our life is built around a rhythm. Minute by minute, we breathe in, we breathe out. We breathe in, we breathe out. If the person next to you has stopped doing that particular one, I would draw it to the attention of a church warden, and they will do something. And then on a daily basis, we have rhythms. We all get up at about the same time. We all go to bed about the same time each day. Many of us toddle off to work or school or college at about the same time, where we work to a timetable. We have exercise at about the same time, if we take it. Medicine, if we take it, we take at the same time. We have a rhythm to our daily life. And we have a rhythm too to our weekly life. We go and watch the football on a Saturday. We go to chess club or stamp club or model railway club on a Thursday. Pilates maybe, or the gym on a Tuesday, whatever. And even on a monthly basis, we have a rhythm. My bank account is regularly hit on the 3rd of the month by a load of standing orders that disappear out of the door. So we are built around rhythms. And why is that? Well, I think there are a number of reasons. I think firstly, having a rhythm to your life ensures that things that need to be done and are important to us get done. They're in there, they're in the diary. You don't forget to do them. Taking medicine, you think, I've got to take medicine, I've got to take a tablet. And so, I can take it any time I want, but I try and take it before a meal, so I can remember, basically, to take the thing. So rhythms are important. They mean the important things get done. And it also means we can rest at ease once we've done them, because we know it's done. I needn't keep fretting about my tablet because I know I'd have taken it. After you've taken the dog out for the walk, the fact she sits there staring at you with her plaintive eyes, sorry mate, you've had your walk, you've done it. It's done and dusted. I think too it saves us having to make countless decisions every day. Otherwise you're thinking, when shall I take the dog out for a walk? Today, I wonder. When shall I go to work today? When shall I do this? When shall I do that? You don't have to do any of that if you have a regular rhythm to your day. You know when it's all done. Barack Obama apparently had lots of the same suit because he said it saved him having to make a decision. He always wore the same type of suit. And I can see that reducing the number of decisions makes life a lot easier. And then hopefully all this knits together to ensure our life has a good work, rest and play balance without the Mars bar. So some reasons why a rhythm to our life is important. So if I said to you, did you have an exciting time did you do anything exciting last Tuesday or last Wednesday? You'd probably say, not really, which would mean that you did the normal things you do on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and it all went fine. So it seems sensible that our Christian life of prayer and Bible study and church and Christian service should also fit into this rhythm for the same sort of reasons. If we get it into this rhythm of our life, it would ensure that we give time to these things, to prayer and to Bible reading and to come to church, and that they don't get forgotten or muscled out by other stuff. It saves us from distraction. So if you think, right, now is my time for prayer, then it's not your time for doing anything else. That's when you focus on your prayer life, or when you focus on coming to church, for example. By the same score too, it actually helps us to know when to stop, which is interesting. I think that however long you pray for, you could pray for longer. If you pray for 23 hours a day, you could pray for 24. There's always something else to pray for. There's always some other Bible study you could do. But saying, okay, I've decided how long I need to pray, how long is good for me to pray for, and I'll pray for that. When it's done, it's done. And again, it saves us having to decide each day, shall I do a Bible, shall I read the Bible today? Shall I go to church this Sunday? If it's in the rhythm, there's no problem. And again, hopefully, this will lead to a good work, rest and pray balance in our lives. Rhythm is a common thing in the Bible. In the very earliest chapters of the books of the Bible, God gave the Israelites quite a rhythmic life that they were to lead, about Passover and celebrations and so on and so forth. In Daniel, we're told, in that Bible reading that Vita read for us, we're told that he prayed 3 times a day. He went and he prayed 3 times a day, and it was so predictable that actually the people that were against him knew when to watch him. Jesus, we're told, had the custom of going to the synagogue. And we told them Paul did too. And indeed, throughout the Bible, rhythm is a regular theme. But then we come back to the initial question, how do you fit all this Christian stuff, for want of a better phrase, into your busy life? The first thing I think we have to do is to give it its importance. If you want to prepare for an exam, or run a marathon, or have a beautiful garden, you accept you've got to put the time in. And you accept that your revision for your exam has got to be the thing you do, and other stuff fits around it. I think so it is with our Christian faith. The importance of prayer and Bible study and coming to church and acts of Christian service and things, you've got to put that in to your timetable and say, I'm doing this. Not look and think, when can I fit it in around everything else, but get it in there at the start. Very few of us have lives that are so busy we can't fit in something like this. If we say, look, I just have no time to do Bible study or to have a prayer, are we really that busy, or is it really a reflection of the importance that we give it relative to other stuff? And you've got to be serious about it too. That again comes to this importance point. You can't just sort of say, oh, maybe I will, maybe I won't, because it won't work. You've got to stick with it and say, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to really try. I'm going to really try and persevere. I think a second thing we need to do, so the first thing, you've got to recognize its importance. Secondly, we've got to think compatibility. How compatible is our Christian life, if you like, with the rest of our lives? There's no point living like a saint on a Sunday and living a far from saintly life the rest of the week. If you want a rhythm in your life, then it's all got to fit together. A car engine won't run smoothly if you stick pistons in it from a different model. It's all got to sit together, and so it is with our life. So maybe there are things that we shouldn't be doing. Maybe there are people we shouldn't be mixing with, stuff we shouldn't be watching on the telly, books we shouldn't be reading, certain folk we shouldn't be hanging out with. There can be a cost involved. Daniel certainly found there was a cost involved. He stuck by his timetable of praying to God 3 times a day, and he ended up being thrown into the lion's den. I shan't tell you what happens. But there can sometimes be a cost involved. There can be a price to pay. You may think, I've got to leave that group of people behind. I've got to stop doing this action or that action. You need to have a compatibility across the board. I think then on a more practical point, if you are to fit these things in, you need to find an appropriate time and place to do them. When for you would be a good time to pray or to read the Bible or whatever? Maybe for some it's first thing in the morning. Maybe it's when everyone's disappeared during the day and the house is quiet. Maybe it's sitting on a bus going into work. Whatever. It would be different for all of us. But when is a good time? A good, regular, consistent time that you can give to reading the Bible, to praying, and so on and so forth. It may need some flexibility. It may not be a standard across the board. But when can it be? It needn't be a particularly holy place. You needn't be necessarily kneeling down in front of a communion table or something. It can be just sitting in the chair in the corner in the kitchen. Well, as I say, it can be on the 51 going into Birmingham. You just need a consistent time to do it, because then you will know this is when I am to do it. And then I think another thing following on from that is how long should you do it? Be realistic in choosing your time frame. Don't think I will have a 5-hour prayer session every day, because that probably won't work. But 5 minutes, would that be long enough? It's important that you don't set yourself up to fail, I guess. You can even have a rhythm within this. So, for example, what I mean by that is, for example, you could say, right, I'll have 15 minutes to read the Bible each day. Fine, great. And then just pick up the Bible and say, right, where shall I start reading now? That will probably overwhelm you a bit. But of course, there's so many things that can help you. So if you have, there's so many Bible study notes you can have, that if you read through these, it gives a rhythm to it. It gives us, you're going through the Bible in a systematic way. These sort of things are a great help. All sorts. You get them for small children, you can get them for old folk, you can get them for academic ones, you can get ones that aren't academic. They're not all in this archaic paper form. You can obviously get loads on the phone as well. This one here, 3-minute devotion for men. So it's meant for men with a long concentration span, of course. There are all sorts of them. And these will mean that actually you'll tackle the whole thing in a systematic way. So much easier than just thinking, here's the Bible, where shall I read it? So too with praying. Sometimes our prayers can be a bit sort of wobbly when we pray. But again, you can give yourself a structure to praying. There are these acronym things where Jesus first, others second, yourself last, for example. Or there's ACTS, isn't there, which is adoration, confession, thanksgiving, and then shopping list, as I always call it, supplication, shopping list. So that gives a structure to your prayer time. Or another way I've heard people doing it is saying that on Monday I'll pray for world events, and on Tuesday I'll pray for church, and on Wednesday I'll pray for the family. And so you divide it up like that. And of course, on the phones, there are loads of wonderful things on the phone. I've got on here Lectio 365, which is 3 short, not services, they're sort of meditation times. Morning, midday, and evening. It's a free app. It's fantastic to listen to. For those who are more Church of England bound, there's time to pray, where twice a day they have morning prayer and evening prayer. Obviously, you only have each once a day, you know what I mean? They have a morning prayer in the morning and evening prayer in the evening, and you can listen to that. So there are all sorts of these things that you can listen to on your phone. And again, there are books as well. This one, for example, which actually is a book I nicked from the vestry, if truth be known. I borrowed, not nicked, borrowed. Has 28 short services in. And again, you can work through this, one a month, one each day of the month. And so there's lots of stuff you can have to help you do these things and tackle them in a way that really means they go more smoothly and are more structured, so you can get the most out of them. But you say, okay, you hear what you say, have a routine, do it regularly, follow one of these things, sit down, 15 minutes, that's great, but aren't we going to fall into exactly the same trap that Jesus was telling the Pharisees off for in the second passage? Won't we end up with a dull routine, doing things on automatic pilot and generally being insincere? See, the Pharisees were a very, very devout lot, and they did all the religious things that they needed to do. They went through every single religious thing they had to do, they made sure they did. So they greeted everyone with great pomp. They washed before meals, not just like you say to a child, go and wash your hands. It was a ceremonial thing. You had to start at the fingertips and work down, and it was all very complicated, but you had to do it in the right way. And they gave a tenth of even the herbs they grew. They made sure a tenth of all the herbs got given. But Jesus condemned them because he said, it's all insincere. It's all insincere. And aren't we going to fall into that same trap if we start doing these routines and putting our faith into the sort of the pattern that I've been talking about? And again, if we start saying prayers each day, aren't they just going to be coming out as rote? Aren't we just going to be saying them on automatic pilot? And they mean nothing. It's a good concern, but I don't think that's a correct interpretation of what Jesus is telling us. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can fully relate to that. There has been, Priscilla's not here so I can use this phrase, many a time when I have had a busy day at work and I flopped down and I thought, oh, an evening chillaxing, and I thought, oh, it's house group night. Oh. and I've had to drag myself out to house group. And so I can understand that. You don't always want to do these things. If you say, I'll pray first thing in the morning, you wake up and it's dark and it's cold and you're tired. Do you really want to get out of bed and do it? There's always these forces that are sort of pulling against it, really. And Jesus understands. And indeed, sometimes, maybe it is right that you do something else. These rhythms I'm talking about aren't cast in stone. It's not like the Pharisees' approach. There's nothing magical about them. And if circumstance means that you can't do your prayer time when you normally do, that's okay. That's fine. Jesus came to bring freedom, not strict rules, after all. But we all have things we don't want to do, but we do them because we have to. I don't always skip to work with a jolly smile on my face. Olympic athletes, they must think, it's a cold, wet Tuesday. I don't want to be running around a track training. Those of us who are parents, been many a time and again, you think, oh, I'd just love to sit down in front of telly, but you've got to go to the bath time and bedtime routine and, all the jollification in the bath and then rest them into their pajamas and then read for the millionth time the story of the little lamb that lost its mother. My last 17, we should really stop doing that now, I guess. But we do these things because we know we have to. And I think that that's an important thing about these timetables. If things are on there, the presumption is you do them. You do them. I do football on a Friday evening. Surprising, I know, but I do. And it's because it's on the calendar. If I say, I'm going to football tonight, my wife doesn't bat an eyelid. If I said, I'm not going to football tonight, she'd ask why. Because the presumption is, it's in my timetable, I do it. And so it is with our prayer time and things. If it's in our timetable, the presumption should be that we do it. And indeed, when we're having those times, when God seems distant or too far away, or an extra half an hour in bed seems more attractive, isn't that precisely the time when we should be turning to God? Isn't that the time when really we should be saying, let's try and reconnect with God again? I mean, after all, for example, you find if on a Sunday morning you thought, I don't really want to go to church, you stand far more chance of connecting with God if you do come to church than if you roll over and have an extra hour in bed. And then, what about the point of repetition, the fact you just keep saying prayers over and over again, they become meaningless? This is a big issue concerning prayers, and that's why some churches don't have what we call the liturgy, the set prayers that we use. They want it to be fresh and things. But indeed, it's not just prayers, though, isn't it? Is it? I mean, some of the Bible stories, the Daniel stories, some of us have read hundreds of times. You could even argue, if you've got a regular standing order to give money to a charity, after a while it just goes out the door. Do you really think about it anymore? Is repetition always a bad thing? I don't think it is, because I think, certainly it's not wrong from the outset, because, for example, Jesus gave us the Lord's Prayer. We've said it already today. And whether he gave us the prayer wanting us to say exactly those words, or whether he gave us that showing a structure that we were to follow, either way, it's a regular thing that Jesus expected us to use. So repetition certainly isn't a bad thing. And actually, familiarity can often bring a comfort. And as far as words and prayers and hymns are concerned, it allows you to reflect on them and to dig deeper into them and to get more familiar with them. So I'm not necessarily against repetition. It can, of course, it can become a rote, it can become an automatic thing, but it's a wonderful opportunity for digging deeper into the words. But ultimately, going back to this thing about what's the difference between us and the Pharisees, I think it's about the bigger picture. Why does the Olympic athlete get up on a wet February morning to train? It's because they have the bigger picture. They want to win the gold. However much they don't want to train on the wet Monday morning, they want the gold at the Olympic Games. If you find yourself down and you don't feel up to a prayer time or coming to church or whatever, have a look at the bigger picture. It's all about your relationship with God. And the rhythm can help you restore that by keeping you on track. And that's the big difference with the Pharisees. For them, the routine had become the end in itself. That's what it was all about as far as they were concerned. And they weren't about helping the poor or whatever. They were concerned about doing what they should and following this routine, and not actually about what faith is all about. Don't get me wrong, it's something which can often be aimed at the church today. And yet the Bible tells us that God doesn't want sacrifices. He doesn't want sacrifices of time or money or stuff like that. But what he wants is a broken and contrite heart. And having your faith embedded in the rhythm of your life doesn't guarantee you that, but it can help you get to that. So maybe coming back to the initial question of how can I establish healthy rhythms in my life, another answer, and a much shorter answer, is to say you can achieve it by having a desire to put God and your relationship with him at the front and center of all you do. And then you'll have a desire to pray. You'll have a desire to study his word. You'll have a desire to work for him, and so on. With God at the heart of your life, all I've talked about will naturally fall into place. Amen.